Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, and we're gonna have some fighting words. But before we go any further, I need for you to like this video and also subscribe to my channel. In this video, I wanted to talk about Yordenis Ugas and his up-and-coming bout against Errol Spence in their Unification bout. So I've already done a fight breakdown for Errol Spence, so in this video, I want to do one for Ugas. Make it fair, give it an even playing field. So without further ado, let's talk about what Ugas does well. Well, first thing he does well is he measures distance really well. And he is big for the division. I've said that several times, and it's the truth. He is big for the division. I honestly don't know how he's making 147 pounds. But then again, that being said, I don't know how Errol Spence is making 147 pounds. They got to be killing themselves just to do that. But since they do, they're just big for the division. And I feel like Ugas is going to be one of the biggest guys that Errol Spence has been in there with. Minus Kell Brook, although I feel like Ugas might be a little bit taller than Errol Spence, so I just feel like he's going to be one of the bigger guys. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Errol does possibly being a smaller guy. And I don't want to say he's the smartest guy that Errol would have been in there with, but I feel like in terms of pure skill, he might be one of the smartest guys that Errol has shared the ring with. So it's going to be really interesting. Another thing that I would give Ugas is he has an amazing jab. He has an amazing jab. Ugas likes distance anyway, so that jab is great for him. My only critique on his jab is he doesn't use it enough. He uses it just enough. He doesn't use a jab the way I feel a jab is effectively used. And how is a jab effectively used? Consistency. That's how you use a jab. You be consistent with it. If you're consistent with a jab, you can do a lot of things. You can set your opponent up. You can back your opponent up. You can get out of trouble. There's just a lot of things you can do if you use your jab consistently, which is one of the things Errol Spence does well. But Ugas I feel like he has a lot more pop in his jab. You know, I feel like everything that Ugas throws has power in it. He is pretty heavy-handed, but for the most part, I say everything he throws has power in it because he's not big on throwing a lot of punches every round. Now, the downside to that is you're fighting Errol Spence. He's gonna throw a lot of punches, and you're not throwing that many punches. So let's just say we go to the judges, you're probably gonna lose. The upside is that you're sustaining your energy level. And when it comes to Ugas, everything that he throws, for the most part, counts. So, okay, yeah, I might throw 25, 30 punches in a round. But out of the 25, 30 punches that I've thrown in that round, 20 landed. And they landed where they were supposed to land. They weren't sloppy punches. They weren't throwaway punches or anything like that. They had a target and they hit the target. That's how I can credit Ugas. However, you are fighting Errol Spence. You need to up the take of your punch output. You cannot afford to sit there and say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this," but it's you know they're gonna count. Well, they're gonna count, but Errol's never been off his feet. So yeah, they're gonna count, but what are the odds you're gonna get him off his feet? So that being said, because Errol has taken some shots. He's definitely taken some shots. And he's shown that he's got a good chin. Danny Garcia hit him a few times. Kell Brook hit him. Sean Porter is not the biggest puncher in the world, but he still hit him, is the point that I'm making. And he stood his ground. He ate those punches, and he returned fire. Now, like I said, Ugas is one of, or probably the biggest guy that he shared the ring with thus far in the past couple of years. But I don't know if Ugas has enough power to put him off his feet. I definitely think he has the skill to set him up to put him off his feet. But I don't know if just sheer power alone and pop is going to get Errol Spence off his feet. So that remains to be seen. I'm going to go with the latter right now and say no until I see anything different, until I see the fight. Obviously, we all see the fight. But another thing that I would definitely credit Ugas with is I feel like Ugas can back Errol Spence up. I think he's going to be forced to be more aggressive because he's fighting Errol Spence. I think he's going to be forced to take the center because he's fighting Errol Spence. Because if not, if you allow Errol like 30 seconds of dictation in a fight, he's taking the whole fight. So you can't allow Errol to do that. Errol likes to do this little thing where as soon as the bell rings, he runs to the center of the ring. So Ugas has to be first. He has to be in that center of the ring. He has to use his size to his advantage and try to push Errol Spence back. Now, if you're not going to do it with a jab, you're going to have to do it with muscle alone. And I do believe he can do it. He showed real grit when he fought Sean Porter. Although you can tell it's been a long, like when he fought Sean Porter, you can tell that it had been a long time since Ugas had to like do a dirty street fight. Like you could tell he was not comfortable. However, Sean Porter is, I don't want to say a dirty fighter. I never thought he was a dirty fighter. I just thought he was like wild. And Errol Spence is not as wild as Sean Porter. So I think the comfort level of Ugas muscling Errol Spence back would be a lot better because he knows he's not in there with a wild man. He's just in there with a rugged dude who's got a lot of dog in him. And there's a difference. You know, Maidana, rugged. Sean Porter, rugged and wild. Errol Spence is not rugged and wild. He's a dog, and he's willing to get in the fire, but there's nothing rugged or wild about him. He's a thinking fighter. So the comfort level of Yordenis Ugas to physically push him back should be there. It should be, and I hope it is. I hope he's going to take advantage of being, you know, I'm not saying he's going to be super huge or, you know, like much bigger than Errol Spence. I'm not saying that. But I am saying he's one of the biggest guys that he's fought. So therefore, take advantage of the fact that you more than likely would be the bigger guy on the night of the fight. That's all I'm saying. Now, one thing about Errol Spence, if he goes backwards, he will not throw. If Errol Spence backs up, he does not throw. He literally just shells up. All you have to do is get him back. If you can back him up, you can fire off shot after shot after shot. He will not return fire. In the Sean Porter fight, unless they were fighting up close and they were in the pocket, that's the only time that Errol Spence will return fire. If there was distance and he backed up, he didn't do anything. In the Kell Brook fight, if there was distance, especially in the Kell Brook fight, if you really want to get a view of what I'm talking about, look at the Kell Brook fight. He didn't do anything. Every time he backed up, every time he got backed up, Errol Spence did nothing. It happened, I think, once or twice in the Danny Garcia fight. He did nothing. Whenever Danny would believe in himself and muster up, you know, because he was starting to take a little bit of a pounding, and he would try to fight back, Errol would back off. Danny Garcia is really heavy-handed. Errol would just back off. So, but every time he backed off, he did not throw. Ugas is bigger than Errol Spence. If he can back him up, he can use that jab. And his jab is like a sniper jab. He will hit you with the jab. And it's a clean, sharp jab. If he can do that, he can back Errol Spence up. And he can back that up with muscle. Now, another thing about Ugas is he has that slick Cuban style where, well, Ugas isn't the most elusive guy in the world. You always know where he's at. But when I say Cuban style, I'm talking about, in terms of Cubans, a lot of their combinations are very simple. Like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or something like that. They're very simple. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, move. 1, 2, move. 2, move. It's very, very simple. You look at Rigondeaux, he literally is the simplest fighter in the world. You know what he's going to throw at you. It's just how he sets it up. But you know what he's going to throw at you. Ugas is very much so like Rigondeaux or Lara. You know what Lara's going to throw. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3. Like, you know what he's going to throw. Or just a 2. You know what he's going to throw. And then he's going to move. Ugas may not necessarily move afterwards, but you know what he's going to throw at you. The combinations are simple. It's just that he's actually pretty fast with his hands, and he's heavy-handed. You know what he's going to throw. So if you could implement your size, and one of the great things about having simple combinations well, number one, you can't forget it. And number two, something simple like 1, 2, 3, or just 2 comes natural. Like, you just know to throw it. Like, it's a lot more simple than, 3-6 or 3-2-6, something like that. It just comes a lot more natural. So that being said, I think if he can back Errol Spence off, he could actually unload. He could fire off a lot of shots. Because keep in mind, he's going to have simple attacks, but he's still going to have the comfort of his distance. Ugas needs distance to operate. And if he has distance, you got problems. He's going to have the comfort of the distance, and he knows Errol Spence will not return fire. That means you can just let him go. You can let him go with no fear. One thing Ugas cannot do, he cannot get in a corner. He cannot find himself on the ropes. He does not fight well in a pocket. Like, even when he's fighting little mini Pacquiao, he just doesn't fight well in a pocket. I feel like for him to be at his best and to do his best, he does not need to be in a pocket. He does not need to be in a corner. He needs to be in a sit in the ring. He needs space. He needs to stretch out his arms and just have room to operate. But also that room allows him time to think. That's what he needs. That's what he needs. I would love to see Ugas switch off and turn angles. He doesn't do it a whole lot. He likes to plant his feet. If Ugas punches, believe me, there's something in that punch. It's not a wasted get away from me or where are you type of punch. It's not like that. It's I'm trying to lay something down type of punch. So overall, I just feel like this is going to be a good fight. My biggest concern for Ugas would just be getting backed up. Like I said, if Errol closes the distance and Errol gives the same type of fight that he gave Sean Porter, it's going to be a very long, a very grueling fight for Ugas. That is not his way of combat. It is not where he's comfortable. It is not where he's the most skilled. He's not the most skilled in the pocket. The main thing with the Manny Pacquiao fight showed me was even though he's much bigger, that's not where he needs to be. He needs to be in the center of the ring. He needs space. Like most Cuban-style fighters, they need space to operate. They need time to think. They need to scan where they're going next. And Ugas is no different. I would love to see Ugas move his legs more in this fight. I think it would be beneficial to him if he moved his legs more. And I'm not necessarily saying, do, anything special or anything like that. But even if he were to just step off to the side, if he would pop and then step off to the side, and then you can do your 1-2 or your 2. I would have no issues with that. But just to stand in front of Errol Spence and to, fire off, Errol is not the dude you do that with. So my main things with the Ugas is moving more, throwing more punches, not getting caught against the ropes or the corner, stepping off after you punch. Stepping off, I feel like, would be a really big one. But my main thing would just be throwing more punches. You're going to have to throw more punches. I don't necessarily see this fight as ending in a knockout. So thus far, you might want to, up the cardio. You're going to have to throw more punches. You're going to have to be more active in these rounds. But those are my thoughts. I want to know what you have to say. Drop them down below. And as always, please like and please subscribe.